A gigantic explosion shook Lebanon's capital of Beirut on Tuesday, leaving more than 80 people dead, over 4,000 wounded, and causing widespread damage even on the outskirts of the capital. The first explosion rang out at the port shortly after 6 p.m. local time, followed immediately by another deafening blast. The explosions caused by ammonium nitrate sent a mushroom cloud towering up into the sky, obliterating buildings, damaging vehicles, uprooting electric poles, and turning the city's streets into a debris-strewn wasteland.
هاي amazing. هاي amazing.
A red cloud hung over the city in the wake of the blast as firefighting teams rushed to the scene to try to put out the fire. It was a doomsday for Beirut. People were seen bleeding and lying on the ground in the streets crying for help.
My fucking like all of the hospitals here
Homes up to 10 kilometers away were damaged, and footage from local media showed wrecked cars flipped over by the force of the blast, streets and sidewalks littered with pieces of broken glass, and the air was thick with smoke and soot. One Beirut resident who was several kilometers away from the site of the explosion was seen trying to shield his son, thinking that it was an earthquake. Footage shows doors and walls of a shop ripped off, forcing the people to run for their lives, while in another video, a mass broadcasted online due to COVID-19 situation was disrupted and the father got injured. Health Minister Hamad Hassan said that the death had reached 78, adding that nearly 4,000 people had been injured. There are many people missing until now. People are asking the emergency department about their loved ones. We are facing a real catastrophe and need time to assess the extent of damages, he said. Several of people are still buried under the rubble. Qatar's Secretary General Nazar Najarian was also among the dead. He was at the party's headquarters in Beirut at the time of the blast. Lebanese Prime Minister's wife, daughter, and consultants were also injured in the blast. The scene at hospitals were catastrophic. The wounded were seen lying in corridors and some on the floors. Courts were turned away. Many hospitals themselves have sustained damage. Local media have asked the public to donate blood. In addition to local authorities, more than 30 Red Cross teams were responding to the scene of the blast. American President Donald Trump has said Beirut explosion looks like a terrible attack. Porter says that generals who briefed him on the blast seemed to think that it was some kind of bomb.
Question on Lebanon. You called this an attack. Are you confident that this was an attack and not an accident?
Well, it would seem like it based on the explosion. I've met with some of our great generals, and they just seemed to feel that it was. This was not some kind of a manufacturing explosion type of event. This was seems to be, according to them, they would know better than I would, but they seem to think it was a attack.
However, Lebanon's president says 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate was stored in the warehouse at the port for 6 years without safety measures, and that was exploded. He calls for a 2-week state of emergency in the city. Lebanon is among the many countries already facing enormous health and economic consequences of COVID, compounded by refugee crisis and more.